Hey everyone, today I'm going to give you a quick tip on how to get rid of shoulder pain. Most of the time when somebody asks me if there's anything I can do about their shoulder pain, I say, well, what have you done it for on your own? And most of the time they look at me with a blank stare and say, nothing. So my best tip is to get out and get yourself a lacrosse ball. You don't have to have a fancy PhysioFit RX lacrosse ball like mine, but it does help. But get yourself something like that, something semi-rigid, and what we're going to do is we're going to work on the posterior part of your rotator cuff. Okay, so that infraspinatus, I'll show you where it is here in a second, but the thing is that you have a lot of strong musculature that pulls the shoulder forward into this internally rotated position, and we have very little musculature that does the opposite and pulls you into external rotation or into that externally rotated position. And what happens is people end up sitting at desks for long periods of time. You end up riding cycles for long periods of time. We're putting ourselves in compromised positions for prolonged periods of time causes the muscles in the opposite side of the shoulder to get stretched out, kind of like octopus arms, where they're really stretched out and they can no longer be effective in pulling and stabilizing the joint in its center position. So they just get fried and get tacked down in this lengthened position and are rendered useless basically. And that's where shoulder impingement kind of comes in, and you start getting some calcifications and whatnot back there. So we're going to prevent that using this easy exercise. Okay, so get your ball. You're going to put it right, so there's a bony prominence right along here. That's called the spine of the scapula. So you just feel for that, and then walk yourself out and go almost at the end of it. That's the acromion. So we're going to go maybe like an inch in from that, and then drop down underneath the spine of the scapula. Right there, you're on that posterior part of your rotator cuff. Okay, so we're gonna put the ball there, get yourself about 90 degrees abduction of the elbow, just like that, and then let yourself rest back and get ready to have some fun, because it's going to be a little stiff back there, especially if you've been doing some stuff that requires some shoulder stabilization, right? Or if you've never done this before in your life, it's going to be painful. But sometimes I'll just roll over to put a little more leverage on it, and then sometimes, depending on how stiff or how brave I'm feeling that day, I'll bridge up. Oh, I'm definitely not feeling that brave right now, so we're just going to roll over on it and put some pressure on there. Okay, that feels pretty good. What you want to avoid is getting all the way over into this closed shoulder position. A lot of unexperienced physical therapists, or most physical therapists and chiropractors that I've met, they'll have you do this thing called the what is this, some kind of stretch like this, but basically what it does is it impinges your shoulder and causes the problem to get worse. So you don't want to do that. Avoid that. You can get into this 90-degree position, but nothing beyond that. Otherwise you're just causing more trouble. Okay, so we're going to get into that position. You can start just by trying to reach for the floor, touch the back of your hand to the floor, and then see if you can try and touch the front of your hand to the floor. Don't let your shoulder come up off the ball. You still want to keep that pressure on there. So maybe take your other arm and just push it back into that lacrosse ball. And what we're doing is we're just taking, this is basically a poor man's tack and floss. Okay, so ART. So yeah, you don't have to go see somebody and pay $100 to get ART. This is even better if you're doing it on yourself. It actually works much better. So what we would do is spend about 2 minutes on this spot that we're on, trying to reach a little bit further every time. Easy to touch the backside. Can I touch my fingers? Can I touch my hand? No, not quite yet, but you want to spend at least 2 minutes, the minimum therapeutic dose, or until you feel like you've made some appreciable change. So if I'm able to go ahead and touch my fingers there, pain-free, touch my back of my hand there, then everything's probably pretty good. But if you're having some trouble and you're struggling, we're going to take that hand, go ahead and make a fist with the bottom hand, and you're going to take a big breath in, hold, and then you're going to contract. Contracting all the musculature in my shoulder. I'm externally rotating, so the external rotators are turning on, and I'm resisting with this arm so that nothing moves. That's called an isometric contraction, meaning no movement is occurring. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then as I relax, I'm going to exhale and take up the slack. And as you can see, my shoulder's still down, but I'm getting a little bit closer to the floor there. So maybe I want to do that again 2 or 3 times. So big breath in, hold, contract, push, 2, 3, 4, and then relax. Exhale, take up the slack 1 more time. Hold, 1, 2, 3, 4, little more and relax. Take up the slack, and then maybe I shear a little bit more. It feels a little bit more supple back there, and now I can take a little bit more pressure on there. Maybe I could even bridge up on it and do some of that if you're feeling really, really stiff and brave. Oh, it's beautiful. But that's a wonderful way to get the rotator cuff functioning again, back in its normal length tension relationship, so that it can help stabilize the ball and socket joint kind of right in the center of the socket, and that way everything functions properly underneath. Then your big deltoid and all the big prime movers over top can do their job properly, okay? That's your tip for the day. I hope you guys have a great weekend.